Softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling for you and for me. See on the portals, he's waiting and watching, watching for you and for me. Come home, come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh children, come home. Why should we tarry when Jesus is pleading, pleading for you and for me? Why should we linger and heed not his mercies, mercies for you and for me? Come home, come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh children, come home.
Hi, I'm Dale Likens, the pastor of the Open Table, a new congregation, a new church in the Mason area. Our website is theopentablechurch.org. I invite you to go there and find out more about us. I am personally grateful for this congregation who, upon the very beginning of being founded, embraced the principle that all people bear the image of God, and our purpose as a congregation is to announce that truth in all the places that we live and work and go to school and interact with people throughout our lives. As a gay man, I am so grateful for the love that is expressed and the openness and hospitality. And so in this month of Pride, we are hearing a variety of diverse experiences, voices who will tell us how God has connected with their own stories to create a story of faith and love and beauty.
For just as the body is one and has many parts, and all the parts of that body, though many, are one body, so also is Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, whether slave or free, and we were all given one Spirit to drink. Indeed, the body is not one part, but many. But as it is, God has arranged each one of the parts in the body just as he wanted. And if they were all the same part, where would the body be? And as it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. Or again, the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that are weaker are indispensable. And those parts of the body that we consider less honorable, we clothe these with greater honor, and our unrespectable parts are treated with greater respect, which our respectable parts do not need. Instead, God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the less honorable, so that there would be no division in the body, but that the members would have the same concern for each other. So if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. And if one member is honored, all the members rejoice with it.
Hi everyone. This is my personal journey as being an LGBTQ person, but I'll be reading it because I'm better at writing than I am speaking. Being an LGBT person has been interesting. There was so little education and information that I had available on it that I didn't know I was trans or queer until my freshman year of high school. That's where I met other LGBT people in the Linder Center after my first suicide attempt. There I learned about being trans, gay, bi, and all these different identities that I had never heard of before. But with finally starting to figure out who I was came with ridicule. With being told I was going to hell, I was determined that I was already living in it. I lost friends, and my only other LGBT friend moved away, or they abandoned me. Even in the LGBT community, I faced a lot of gatekeeping. I wasn't trans enough for liking skirts, or pink, or my sexuality was invalid. I wasn't allowed to refer to myself as queer because some people just didn't like the only identity I found that fit me. I genuinely felt that God had left me. The faith I had was lost as more and more questions I had about God's people really being full of hate arose. More people turned their back on me. I ended up sitting alone every Sunday in the dark corners at the back of the room for high schoolers at my old church, as no one seemed to like to pretend I existed. But then my mom and I found this church from Lynn. It was the first love I had ever been shown by Christians, except my mom, in years. I found my own way of worship and was finally allowed back into traditional worship here. My faith started to come back. My prayers to God to let me die ended up turning into thanks. And I found a home.
This is 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 13. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. But whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 13.
Hi, this is Whit. For those who don't know me or don't know me very well, I live in Mason. I have 5 children from a previous relationship. We share custody. 2 are in college, one's going off to college, and 2 will be starting 7th grade in the fall. And then Patty is my current significant other. We live together here in Mason. I wanted to talk a little bit about words, signals, use of and omission of, I guess, and how that has, over my years and my experience with being a lesbian, intercepted my life. I think maybe my first experience was in college. I didn't realize I was gay until after I graduated. I wasn't aware I wasn't actively suppressing it. I was for sure a tomboy. Many would look back and say, how did you not realize? But I was playing rugby in college, and there were a couple of women on the team who were out lesbians, or known to be lesbians, I should say. I really don't know how far out they were with classes and things like that. And there are about 15 of us, 20 of us on the team, and one of the lesbians wanted to meet with me. And I was nervous, and my friend was like, what are you afraid of? And eventually, the long story short, I did meet with her, and she and her partner at the time were appealing to me to help them on the field when some of the other teammates were making derogatory comments, because they already noticed that I had done that, and tried to, be a neutral party in the middle. And they were just asking me to more overtly notice words and things that were being said that were hurtful to them, and to, if I was willing to stand out and try to distract, divert, change the conversation. That's the first experience I think I really remember. 2 years after college, 3 years, I moved to Washington, D.C. and started playing for a team down there. And that's when I had my first relationship and realized that I was gay. And, at that point, there was a lot of things, words that were used in the Bible, news. I was certainly in an area where there was a big gay population, but it was pretty clear it wasn't commonly accepted. So, that experience obviously followed me for a long way. I would go to a church service with a friend of mine, to a Catholic service, and or even a new church I was trying to investigate in the years of moving around in my adult life. And the minister would start with the sermon and go through the list of sins and refer to homosexuality. I can't remember, honestly, if I got up and left, or if I just sat there and tried to ignore it. The fight for marriage, and a lot of folks saying, let's just, go with like a civil union, or I think the joke was the marriage. And I remember saying myself at one point, like, fine, don't call it marriage. I just want the same rights as anybody else. But, that's kind of that's conceding and not really pushing for full equality, because it still says that you're less than, if marriage is not equal for everyone. A lot of times there's stories about coming out. I will celebrate 30 years with P&G. I have my Pampers shirt on tonight, next week, and I am very involved with our LGBT employee resource group called Gable. I do a lot of work with our training, and we talk a lot about coming out and words people choose to use and not use. And I recall I made a video for the company back in 2007. Carter and Keaton were maybe 5. No, I guess they were 7 at that point. Callie was 5. And at that point, I had been out since the boys were born. I had come out when the boys were born. It was going to be pretty hard, although people have done it, for me to show up at the workplace with twins at home. I didn't carry them. My ex carried them. So I was like, I'm not going to, go through this in my life and not have my coworkers understand and have their support from that. So it was sort of a turning point for me, where I said, I'm not going to also hide who I am and not be a good role model for the kids. So in 2007, we had national sales meetings, 2,000 people in attendance, and they were doing a diversity video. And somehow I got connected to be on the diversity video. And in that video, I came out. A lot of people knew that I was gay. A lot of people did not. And so in the video, I said, as a gay female at P&G, and they, you could have heard a pin drop in this, meeting room of 2,000 people. A lot of folks come up and said very positive things. Now, the funny thing is, I said as a gay female because Even sometimes I find it hard to say lesbian. I don't know why, not physically say it, but the word itself as a label. So I chose the words gay female, but still had a pretty big impact for people to actually hear that openly. And so, you know, when one of the things about coming out is that you make the decision, you know, constantly, sometimes daily. In a career, even for me, for 30 years, I've only been in baby care for 2.5 years. And so some people knew me when I got there, but some didn't. So when I have a join up conversation, you know, if I don't come right out and say it, people might make the mistake of assuming that I'm married, I have a husband. You know, Patty and I were traveling home from Greece last summer. And when we got to security and the gal was asking us, you know, those questions as you're waiting in line. And she said, you know, what's your relationship to each other? And we looked at each other. we were stumped. And it was in that moment you assess, do I say it or not say it? So with all the current conversations going on, you know, most racial diversities are visible. LGBT, you know, LGBTQ plus is not, oftentimes is not visible. And so you make the choice, and a lot of times it's based on the environment. I usually have a signal, usually have a sticker on my car, a rainbow sticker, but it was so far worn that I took it off. But there've been moments where I passed somebody and I thought, you know, and I was uncomfortable, and I'm like, what if they see the sticker and, you know, could they come after me? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I took the sticker off because it was worn out. And I'm like, I'm safe. You know, and this happened like in the last month. So I think, you know, it's around that theme of the words mattering. And so I think what I would bring that back to is, you know, another example, when I go to a wedding, even today, and I listen to hear the pronunciation of marriage and it being between a man and a woman versus attending a wedding where I heard them say, you know, marriage is for two people in love. You know, that no question that I noticed that. And so, you know, words of inclusion matter, words of interpretation matter. Ironically, there's a film that P&G made, a short story film called The Words Matter. So I think if you Google that, you should be able to find it. It's the story of the word sexual orientation being included in our EEOC statement. And I could tell you stories about that, but I won't. The point is, you know, over the years, slowly but surely, feeling more and more comfortable being LGBT as the world accepts the gay community more and more so. In some places, not at all. But in most of the circles that I'm in, yet you still have the interpretation of the Bible. And I think, you know, as far as relating it to the group that we're with today, studying the books that we've studied and breaking that down in the Bible to truly kind of once and for all recognize that that's certainly written at a point in time, certainly has interpretation. I've never been exposed to that kind of thinking. And once and for all, even though I've been a part of congregations where I, you know, reconciling Methodist congregation in Minnesota where we hung a rainbow flag in the sanctuary, you know, and people saying I'm comfortable, this group for me really has broken it down to where I think really for the first time I feel more comfortable and I truly believe it. And I think, you know, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful, you know, in my life, in my journey, Patty has facilitated a lot for me. You know, she worked at the church, her church in Northern Kentucky, and our circumstances of our meeting, I thank God for putting us together, because there were a lot of things that could have prevented us from meeting the night that we did. And I know that that was an intervention. And, you know, between that and the conversations we have and her experience, I think we just continue to learn in the journey about, you know, words and word choices and signals, and being sure to give people evidence that you truly are inclusive, whatever you're being inclusive of. Choose your words wisely.
Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken-hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, O sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't feel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all who have strayed. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, a rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. Lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Come as you are, fall in his arms. Come as you are. There's joy for the morning, O sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, home, you're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are.